For my LIDA assignment, I have decided to do a presentation based around what technologies I can take into teaching. I have chosen to look at this specifically as technology has become more prolific this year in my learning, as I'll talk about later. So how can I use it to aid others' learning? So to start, I am going to sort of talk about how I felt before the course started, as I've personally used very little in the way of digital tools for my previous study. Um, I would use peer-to-peer learning, or pedagogy, as I've later found out was called, and the lecturer or teacher depending on the environment that I was in. Also using textbooks, library books that I could use to teach myself. The only time I would really use the internet would be to look up the sports scores, read the news, or scan Facebook. I felt like nothing could beat learning from other people, as it was more personal and enjoyed working together to solve problems rather than just Googling it. But I still felt I could learn from this course about digital tools for learning and how I could exploit them for myself and as a teacher, as I wrote in the letter to myself. So nice and cheesy, let the journey begin. To start, how does everyone use the internet and technology in their everyday life? Depending on what job you do, technology might be your life. Obviously, especially if you work in an office environment or specifically with technology. As Steven Pinker has said in Mind Over Mass Media, science is so much more advanced now due in part to emails and the connectivity it brings. But how is it used in everyday lives with nearly everyone having a smartphone, a laptop, a computer, a tablet? How do we all use it? Well, as mentioned, we have a new connectivity with various ways of being able to contact people anywhere we are, which can be seen as a good thing. However, it causes situations where even in a social situation, people are using their phones to contact people not even there. A classic example that I've noticed recently is when families are having a meal and all the children are playing on their phones. That just doesn't seem right to me. The new language and skills we acquire through texting, email, social media, gaming, sort of to name a few, has changed the way we interact even in person. From new language to being up to date with a new app or software that promises to make our lives better or easier. Almost everyone these days are on social media websites such as Facebook and Twitter, where it is now unusual if you don't have either. Both of these combine to make everyone almost reliant on technology to live their lives. Even personally, I'm guilty of checking my phone to see what's happening on Facebook on a daily basis. So if we are to use technology for learning and teaching, we must first understand what it does to us and whether it is a good thing or not. The first thing that springs to mind is the bombardment of digital media from everywhere, from TV, internet, phones, advertisement, computer games. This is one of the points made by Sir Ken Robinson in the RSA video, Changing Education Paradigms. When we watch TV, we would all know the brand just by the song. We constantly see the same adverts at bus stations or on billboards every day. So it must be wiring our brain in a certain way to recognise their advertising campaigns without conscious thought. This makes it a constant battle to get someone's attention, not just in the classroom. With the use of technology, we can now stay in contact with people 24/7, as we can text, email, video chat, and not just call them up on the landline. But is this a good thing, as it changes our ability to interact with people face to face, as well as new language to learn? As an example from Sherry Turkle's article, A Flight from Conversation, an interview with someone who works in an office stated that he doesn't stop to talk, he doesn't call, he says that he doesn't want to interrupt them, he says they're too busy on their email. But then he pauses and corrects himself. I'm not telling the truth, I'm the one who doesn't want to be interrupted. I think I should, but I would just rather do things on my BlackBerry. But Steven Pinker in Mind Over Mass Media makes the point, take the state of science, scientists are never far from their email, rarely touch paper and cannot lecture without PowerPoint. Yet discoveries are multiplying like fruit flies. This would suggest that technology and our new connectivity has helped us progress and make new discoveries that we wouldn't have been able to do without it. Another way that technology aids or hinders us is the way we are perceived online through various mediums like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and even online gaming. We are able to think about what we write or say, making our responses more censored than in real life, where we often speak before we think. This is brought about by the pressure to be professional in all avenues of our visible life and actually hiding who we really are. Dana Boyd, in the interview given by Krotowski, says that technology gives her a place to express herself, but that others in different professions don't have this freedom. This again suggests the conflict between the internet being a place to express yourself, but can be a place of more censorship than in real life. As mentioned before, online gaming is a new way for people to connect and even have an avatar representing themselves in this online world. But what about gaming in general? Can it help us, or is it just an addictive distraction that does nothing but keep us occupied for hours on end? In the video by McGonagall on Gaming Can Make a Better World, she talks about the point that an epic win is one of the greatest rewards we can get, and that if we harness this in real life, it can be used to help humanity. She gives an example of an ancient civilization doing just this to help maintain themselves in the future. However, as Howard Jones in his video Neuroscience, Games and Learning, gaming can have detrimental effects to sleep patterns and consequently our memory, but even he too sees that if we can harness gaming, it would be a very powerful tool. Just as a final little point, it is a negative point, but Nicholas Carr in Is Google Making Us Stupid argues the point that our attention to detail and memory of things, as I mentioned a second ago, is disappearing as it is all online and ready for us to access it. As he says, once I was a scuba diver in the sea of words, now I zip along the surface like a guy on a jet ski. If I'm going to use technology in my classroom, surely I must first think how I myself use it and whether or not, and like how much of it this year I have used. During the whole course this year, I have grown to use more technology, a lot more than I have done in the past, from software packages such as Geometry Sketchpad to using the internet for research a lot more than just using books and journals, for other courses that we're doing such as historical and cultural, where the information is a lot greater on the internet than it is in books, and a lot easier to access. The use of certain software has been very useful to me, not just from Geometry Sketchpad, as I mentioned a second ago, but where doing geometry constructions of spirals and circle theorems, to name a few, has become a lot easier to do and manipulate. But from Autograph, where the construction and manipulation of graphs is a lot easier to do and see. Along with these more specialised tools, I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of this year without the likes of PowerPoint, Excel and Word. Simple office tools that are often taken for granted, but without them I wouldn't have been able to present my findings or be able to do maths such as proof by exhaustion so easily. The internet has also been a vital tool this year as well. The use of websites such as Cut the Knot and My Maths have helped me teach myself a lot of different topics that I was weak on before I even started this course. Also, I needed to use websites like Student Central effectively to access notes, course announcements and hand in work, which without would have left me a bit stuck this year. Finally, what about what I'm doing now? Without the likes of screencasts, Prezi or YouTube, I would not be able to present or give my opinion to you as effectively. But what of this can I take into teaching? The use of technology can be a very good tool if used correctly. The internet is a very distracting thing, and if you were to let your pupils into it without help or guidance, then they would succumb to these distractions. However, if we use it to help our explanation and captivate our audience, then it can be very helpful. Whether it is through the use of videos to mathematical websites or software, it can give a different perspective to the one you are yourself using. This responsible use of the internet and not technology in front of your class would hopefully be a good representation of how the internet is not just for Facebook or Twitter, but can be used to find out any information you want. Also from this course, I have learnt how technology affects us all without consciously realising, from the way we learn to the way we communicate and even talk, the way we use words out of context such as poke or tweet. This means we need to be aware of what is new and happening within technology so that we are not left behind and can use it to enhance our own teaching skills. As just a final thought, the biggest issue that came up during LIDA this year was whether or not teachers will become redundant with all this new technology. I believe that this will never become the case, as I still do personally believe that learning from other people is vital, but digital tools are imperative for the continued development of our education. Thanks for watching my thoughts of what I can take from this course, what I can take from technology into the classroom environment that I will be doing next year. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you.